gentlemen, we would like to have another conversation. And this conversation will be very, very important. So I would like each and every one of us to pay as much attention as we could to this conversation, because it is about housing. I don't think there is anybody here who is not living in a house. And that's why I was begging doctor. And I'm sure when I was appealing to doctor, somebody is asking, and doctor is just counseling and advising. And I said, it's on housing matters. The doctor realizes where I stay and he says, sir, I don't think that boy deserves to stay in that area. How many of you know that right now, I probably should be coming to you to come and ask whether I can give me a room in your place. But I'm glad that doctor has accepted me as a brother that is far away. You can give me a pat on the back. Thank you so much, sir. So we're addressing housing deficit, and I hope that we all pay attention and ask the questions we probably have bothering us at this time. It will be another session with no other person but Dr. Derin himself, who is the special senior assistant to Lagos State Governor on property matters. But to host or anchor this particular segment will be an ace broadcaster and a fantastic journalist. Please help me welcome Chief Mrs. Yinkakenny, who will be the host for this particular segment. A round of applause for her as she comes. Where is she? Okay, I hope she's done with her own tea. But whilst we're waiting for her, of course, I'm not going to bring up Dr. Derin immediately. But let me quickly ask this question. How many of us really interacted whilst we were on tea break? How many of us? How many people really? Okay. Okay, maybe I might have to spare, I guess. But how many people really interacted? Anybody? You did? You did? All right, so who did you speak with, please? Yes? Timitope from Craig Park. Okay. Yes, ma'am, you had an interaction. Oh, no, I saw you with a lot of people, so let me not bother you. All right. I saw doctor with a lot of people. I mean, they were... I was the only person that was not dragging you, but I was going to drag you at some point. But who else interacted in the course of this, in the course of the tea break? Anybody? So all we did was to go straight to the tea table, order for the cookies and the tea, and then we went to another corner to go and start asking the tea how we're faring. More like it, because the code was already coded. The tea was talking to different people and speaking different languages, but we all enjoyed the tea. All right, so you didn't speak to me and I didn't speak to you, but I'm glad I know you. And now we're talking. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome on stage the chief herself, ace broadcast journalist, who is ready to do justice to this particular segment. Put your hands together for Miss Yinkakenny as she comes up stage. And then right now, please permit me to also bring up stage Dr. Derin Phillips to have a conversation with her. Enjoy every bit of it.
Good to have you. Good to see you on this side of the divide. You're just looking at me. You can't remember.
Okay.
Anybody. We chat very,
yes,
like, well, you know, social media is something that's so beautiful these days. You talk to people on a daily basis, and somehow you do not see them. Good to have you on this side of the divide. Okay, so we're talking about housing defect. First off, let me just go to, so that we'll know who the person we're having this discussion with. Sorry, I was told that it's going to be the last session, that's why. So I didn't know it's coming up just now. So, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Yinkakenny. I'm a broadcast journalist and a TV host with NTA2. I anchor the longest running television magazine show in Africa. It's been on for over 30 years and it is Morning Ride. If you are in my generation, you will know Morning Ride. It's good to be here. It's good to have you. And this afternoon with this panel session, we'll be talking about housing deficit. And with me here discussing this, I have Dr. Derin Phillips. He's a seasoned professional at the forefront of real estate innovation, particularly in the area of tokenization. As the Senior Special Assistant to the Lagos State Governor on Development and Property Matters, he leverages his vast knowledge of blockchain technology to reshape the real estate landscape in Nigeria. His expertise in real estate tokenization enables him to offer valuable insights into the digital transformation of property transactions, making him a recognized authority in this space. Throughout his career, Dr. Phillips has demonstrated a unique ability to bridge traditional real estate practices with cutting-edge technologies. His visionary approach highlights the potential of blockchain in making real estate investments more accessible, secure, and transparent. This forward-thinking mindset has made him a sought-after advisor and leader in the rapidly evolving field of real estate tokenization. Dr. Phillips has held significant roles throughout his career. He was the Young Members President of FIBC, International Real Estate Federation, showcasing his commitment to advancing global real estate practices. He also served as the Group Managing Director of FAOB Group, where he oversaw real estate investment through Wervis Investment Limited, engineering consultancy with FAO Phillips and Associates, and power generation through FAO Power. His leadership extended to the entertainment industry as the founder of Case Media Entertainment Limited and the agri-business sector with Cardinal Touch Company Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, please jam your hands together for this personality that is a stakeholder in this field that we want to discuss right now, Dr. Derin Phillips. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Welcome. So we're talking housing deficit, and I understand that we have about 20 minutes to do this. First off, when I want to have a session like this, I like everybody to understand, yes, the elite outside understand what we mean when we talk about housing deficit. Just give us brief talk around housing deficit, just so that a layman listening or watching somewhere somehow will understand what we mean when we talk about housing deficit.
Okay, first off, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to recognize the organizers of this event. Reaching the grassroots is always very important, so I'm always there to encourage and provide whatever support I can in this capacity. So when it comes to housing deficit, I think the key thing to understand is that Lagos, as it is, will have about 20 million population, and each hour statistics show that we have about 86 people coming into Lagos. So by the end of this, by the end of this summit, for instance, for about 300 people, new inhabitants of Lagos, and in 24 hours, about 2,000 people. So what that means is there's a lot of pressure on the system. There's a lot of pressure on the system. Currently, there are about 3 million deficits of houses. So you have people that are in situations where they can't provide adequate housing needs because supply is just greater than, we have an issue with supply. The demand is overwhelming. Not only the infrastructure, the whole system, we'll get to that concept, but we are a developing nation. We are a developing nation, so we are in a state of
the entire budget of Lagos is not up to that of the New York Police Department. I didn't say the New York State, this is the New York Police Department. So we are a poor nation. If you look at the UNDG analysis of what poverty is, you have poverty, you have relative poverty, you have absolute poverty, you have extreme poverty. Can anybody guess where we are? Extreme poverty. So when you have that mindset, you know that we have to deal with efficient allocation of resources. And we have to be very, precise. The policies, like Dr. Abba mentioned, have to cater to this growing demand with very limited resources. So that's where the problem starts.
All right, so in the layman's language, when we talk about housing deficits, we say that no enough house to live in. Okay, so let me just give us a very brief, about the nation as a whole. At one time we were told that in Nigeria as a nation that we had about 17, 20, and even 22 million housing deficit, but the latest report that we have now is being said to be 28 million. And report says that we need to produce 550,000 housing units on a yearly basis. And that's going to cost about 5.5 trillion naira per annum to reach that. But sometimes last month, some real estate developers, some stakeholders, the likes of Matthew Ashimobu, they were at a conference, and they disagreed with that to say that actually what we need is 700,000 housing unit, and this is going to be be something that we have to do for 20 years, other than the report we had that maybe we'll do it for back-to-back for 10 years. So my question now is this, because it looks not feasible. It looks as if, because this report has been on years and years and years before now, and it keeps deteriorating and keeps deteriorating. As a stakeholder, even in real estate, what single policy change would move this to the fastest rate of achieving this in the nearest future?
Yes, so I call myself a blockchain enthusiast. And for those who are not familiar with the term of blockchain, what it is essentially operates by a distributed ledger. So you and I get into an agreement, we form what's called a smart contract. Now, that smart contract has every single detail of what we've agreed, and then it is then shared on the distributed ledger, which means everybody in this room, for instance, will get a copy of that contract. But by that definition, accountability is maintained, transparency is invoked, and then you have a system where everybody has access to this information. When you put it into real estate, what that means is if you want to buy a house, which is 100 million naira, it can be broken down into not only tokens, but the proof of the ownership of that is written in the smart contract. Every single thing about that transaction is embedded in that smart contract, and it's, once I said, most importantly, distributed by the distributed ledger. So what does that solve in this instance? It means that, number one, it democratizes the access to real estate, because rather than before you needed 100 million naira to enter into real estate transactions, you can buy a token of that. For instance, you might have 100,000 naira, for instance, you can buy one property in Ikeja, or one token in a property in Ikeja, two in Epe, and maybe even half of it in Ikoyi. What does that mean? Number one, you have liquidity, so you can easily get rid of your assets. Number two, you can benefit from real estate investments. And most importantly, referring back to this issue of the housing deficit, one of the major issues is that we don't have enough funds, like I mentioned, to actually build the houses that are needed. So we do need alternative sources of finance, and because this is powered by blockchain, the Web3, and it is the future, it provides a credible means to raise finance for the much needed real estate, affordable housing projects that we need. So technology, I believe, is very important in solving this need. Also, in terms of mortgage financing, that's provided a very tricky area for us as a country. We have a prop tech, like rent small and buy small, which again breaks it down into fractions and it allows more people to be able to access it. And like with tokenization, you have the global world at play, so you have global investments we can flow through this. So we do need to keep thinking of different ways to which we can generate finance, alternative means of raising finance, we can access and build all these affordable homes that is desperately needed.
Okay, let me speak for, because in Nigeria, we know that there's a greater disparity between the rich and the poor. And the purpose of this conference is to reach out to the grassroots, which means those that seems to be far from the government. So there are policies in foreign countries whereby we have the governments collaborating with banks and giving mortgage to their citizens on a long term, which is for about 20, 30 years thereabout, and makes it so convenient for them. We have seen, most especially in Lagos, where the past government, they built houses, but unfortunately, it seems not affordable for the everyday man that earns his minimum wage out there. Why is it proving so difficult in this part of the world for our government to partner with banks? And we have, this easy, purchase of property, like it's been done in foreign countries, whereby I can earn a 150,000 naira and I'm paying like a 10,000 naira on a monthly basis for the next 20, 30 years. Just like it was done those years way back in Festac 77, that was what was done for our parents, where the white man, they came, they partnered with the government, and civil servants were able to get that. But I know that as old as I was, till probably 18 years old, my father was still paying for that house. And I wasn't born there. Do you understand what I'm saying? So why is it proving so difficult? And we are having housing deficits deteriorating year in, year out.
Okay, I'll try and make this answer less technical, but the short version, which was given by Governor Fashola, was that there's no affordable cement.
Oh my God.
That's literally the short answer. If we go into the technicality of it, we go into interest rates, we go into the state of the global economy, we go into a lack of production, we are not producing things, we're only importing, the balance of payments. So there are a lot of angles that you can look at it, but there's no affordable cement. So the governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has, under his team's agenda, has made this a very pressing issue. And if anybody knows the history of the governor, he worked as the MD of LSTPC, and there he instituted the JV departments. So JV is basically a joint venture agreement whereby, for instance, you have a piece of land, I have the resources, somebody else has the technical know-how, and we all come together and agree, we're going to build this project, and then we share the dividends, however much we consider adequate. Now, under this initiative, the governor has actually instituted with Access Bank a 704 two-bedroom apartment in Ikorodu, which they've done the groundbreaking, and is specifically for affordable homes. They've partnered with Access Bank to develop an affordable mortgage scheme, and this has been. I think the groundbreaking has been done, and the project should be completed in about 2 years. But also Lagos Homes also has a lot of mortgage programs which have been available. They've done in Sogotedo, in Bori, and quite a few other areas. So Lagos Homes is one that is available and should be accessed. But I think one thing I want to note, especially bringing it to this grassroots level, is that those in the local government council have a responsibility to think outside the box. The statistic which I mentioned earlier about us being a developing nation is something that I think is very important for people to keep in mind, that we just don't have enough resources. So whether it's technology, whether it's partnerships, whether it's collaborations, we have to think innovative ways of how to get out of this issue that we have.
Okay, when you talk about, you see, when government officials or people up there, when they talk about affordability, I begin to rack my brain. Affordability is relative. So this program, because, okay, we are domiciled in Lagos. Let's talk more about Lagos. Kudos to our present-day governor. Is a man that, you know, he says and he does what he says he will do. So when we talk about being affordable, because most of the times the people up there, they do not see the people down here. How affordable is it? Is it affordable for someone like me that does not earn 100,000 in a month?
Well, to be honest, unfortunately, I can't speak to the details of it because I work for LSDPC, and you know, like I said, that is determined on to the bank, you know, the managers, the contractors. There's a lot of elements that go into it. But what I can do promise is that it's definitely affordable, and the project is tailored directly towards affordable homes. And the mortgage will be tied to salaries. So, and if it's tied to civil servant salaries and, you know, masses, you know that it's going to be at a very affordable rate. I can assure you of that.
It's just there. Let's just
I can't come here and realize.
Okay, so will you say that it's as affordable as someone that earns 100,000 like me per month? Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, let's wait and see.
Apartments. I can speak on.
Because I bet you most average Nigerian, they do not even earn 100,000 on a monthly basis. I'm sure I'm right about that. Do I have people that are with me in this? So when we say affordable, that is, I think government should be looking into that. And that brings me to informal settlements. We have a lot of informal settlements, you know, most especially here in Lagos. It's all over Nigeria. We have places like Makoko. You still go there. I go there to do philanthropy at times, and I'm amazed. The way people live and sleep, mosquitoes and everything, you know. And there are shanties here and there. You know, what participatory, you know, upgrade models can be done? We know that, yes, the government might not be able to do for everybody, but then something that could up their level, like what advice can you give to the government to do to these people? Because they're not even living, they're not even surviving, if you ask.
I think in that area, empowerment is needed. Semicolon is a great example of people who encourage those in human capital development. I think it's very important that we have the ability of people to empower themselves, because the truth is governments can't do everything. Like I mentioned, we don't have the resources, we don't have the capability. That's just the truth. So we need people to, there are a lot of programs that are instituted by the government to empower people to be able to work, to uplift themselves out of that situation. But you know, I even want to encourage, especially people in this room, you know, the private individuals, in whatever capacity you can, try to empower people around you. Before I started this government work, I had a foundation called Case Foundation. We focused on healthcare, education, and we have almost 100,000 beneficiaries. And the reason why this is important is because I was doing it out of my own personal capacity, not even as a government official. And if we have that mind state of trying to, you know, seeing ourselves as government, seeing ourselves as the people, coming together to elevate those around us, you know, we have, because at the end of the day, all these people, most of them might turn to crime, most of them might turn to the ills of society, out of desperation, out of really suffering. But we must step up in our capacity to help. The government is doing some bits. Actually, one of the teams that has a lot of programs, especially decorated around and technology to empower people. But you know, I'd like, especially those at the grassroots level, to step up more and to try to impact your community.
Okay, is the government looking at it? Because we see PPP, the public-private partnership, in several sectors, but it seems not to be so visible in the housing sector. And I think it's something that the government should, you know, be looking at, partnering with the local developers, the people we call developers, and making sure that there's some sort of regularization, because if there's no regularization, the way we are, we could just take power into their hands and we start the cycle again. Is government looking into that?
Yes, in terms of local developers, I'm not really sure that would be the way to go because...
that was just an example I cited.
Yes.
Is the government looking at doing something PPP in the housing sector?
Yes, very, very much so. Like I mentioned, the Access Bank, 704 apartments in Ikorodu is going on. There's several different projects that the government is trying to pursue. The metrics to find people who would rather invest in affordable housing than building a property in Ikoyi or that would turn them mega profits is always a tricky one to convince those institutions. But we had some success. Once again, throwing it out there for people or institutions who would like to collaborate in these several PPP initiatives that the government has. Please do come forward and we can progress.
So how accessible is it going to be to the common man? Because we're talking about the common man here. So how accessible is it going to be? Because most of the times, all of these things are being done, and at the end of the day, the man at the grassroots is being shortchanged.
Why so? Why so?
Because probably I don't know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody.
If anybody has...
So are there measures? My question to you now is that are there measures to curtail this and make it absolutely on merit?
Absolutely. I mean, Lagos Homes, if anybody has internet, feel free to go there. The Access Bank initiative, like I said, I'm not sure about the details and the I's and the T's because that is still in the groundbreaking phase. But Lagos Homes is an initiative that had people that they did I think almost 6 months, they had almost 10,000 beneficiaries, even more. There was a ceremony, and feel free to check it out. If there's any issues, do let me know and do my bit. But Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is transparent. Also mentioning there's demand is nowhere near what we can supply. That's a reality, which we all have to acknowledge. But there are projects which go on, and it's not by meritocracy, it's just, submit and then you get the allocation, if you do get it in time.
So is this being given enough publicity? Is the government partnering with media? I'm a journalist, I'm a TV also, I'll get there. Are they partnering with media houses to make this go public? Because most of the times, people don't get to hear about all of this until after.
So,
am I right?
Yeah. So maybe I should use this venture to publicize because we do need your support, by all means, to get those interested to participate. This Access Bank one I keep referring to is one that's hasn't been publicized, so you are hearing it here for the first time. You will know about it. The Ikorodu is called Odola, and it's something you should look up and access. As I said, it's 704 two-bedroom apartments, so it's quite an availability.
All right, thank you very much. I was told this session is for 20 minutes, so we are out of our time. But before I let you go on this session, if you had one policy lever you could pull tomorrow to accelerate housing supply, what would it be? And tell me why.
I think it would be technology. We, as a developing nation, we need all the help we can get to, how would I say, catch up with the developed nations. But we do need an acceleration. And the only acceleration that can be used is technology. That's what I say is available. The finance to do that, the know-how is pretty high. How do we access finance as a developing nation is tricky. We do not produce anything. The interest rates are too high. The banks have a lot of policies to cover. It's very complicated. There's no affordable cement. So we do need technology to leverage that. Technology and the numbers, investment from the diaspora, a lot of the systems that we need to catapult us to the level where we are, because we are in a desperate situation. Make no mistake about that, and we do need all the help we can get. So that would be that.
All right, thank you very much. Please let's give a round of applause for our guest of this segment. Yes, we've been having this discussion, myself and Dr. Derin Phillips. He is the Senior Special Assistant to the Lagos State Governor on Development and Property Matters. And I have been the one anchoring this session. My name is Yinkakenny, like I told you. I'm a broadcast journalist. Thank you for having me for this session. And thank you for doing this alone.
Thank you.
A round of applause for them once again.